There are a few names that come to mind when you think of the greatest inventors of all time. Ford, Henry. The brothers Wright. Thomas Edison is an inventor. But there is one name that is less well known. You have when you plug in your phone, turn on the lights, or use the refrigerator. Nikola Tesla is to blame. This is the narrative of the lost genius, and it starts at the very end. On January 7, 1943, a maid working at the New Yorker hotel entered room 3327 and discovered the death of an 86-year-old man who had lived in the hotel for the previous decade. Tesla died alone and destitute. He survived on warm milk and crackers, and he was preoccupied with feeding the pigeons outdoors. One of history's greatest geniuses sank into obscurity and died poor. There is a reason for this, which will be revealed at the end of this story. On July 10, 1856, Tesla was born, in the town of Smiljan in present-day Croatia. He was born during a thunderstorm. According to family history, halfway during the early life birth, the midwife declared, "This child will be a child of darkness," to which his mother answered, "No, he will be a child of light." She had no idea how prophetic those statements would be. Tesla was 5 years old when he witnessed his older brother is killed after falling from a horse. This would follow him about for the rest of his life. He began seeing visions, accompanied by flashes of light as a toddler, wondering what was real, and what was not, was made up. This was never resolved. The vision enhanced his ability to imagine inventions in such depth, and his thoughts that he didn't even need to draw them out. In a 1919 piece, he described how the designs were refined, in his imagination. Invariably, my device performs as expected, and the experiment turns out exactly as planned. There hasn't been a single exception, in the last 20 years. Tesla attributes his enthusiasm in inventing to his mother. In her spare time, Juka Mandik designed little household items. She possessed an eidetic memory, or the ability to recall a picture from memory, with pinpoint accuracy, which she passed on to her son. Tesla's father was a clergyman, who wanted him to follow in his footsteps, but Tesla was more interested in engineering. When he was a teen, and nearly died from cholera, his father vowed to send him to engineering school, if he survived, which he amazingly did. He proceeded to Austria to study, at the Technical College of Graz, where he is believed to have worked every day from 3 a.m. until 11 p.m. Professors were concerned that he would pass out from weariness. Tesla has a brilliant mind. He could do math in his head, and spoke 8 languages. He was a good student at first, but he never finished high school. He left out after becoming addicted to gambling, and severed relations with his family, in order for them not to find out. His pals had no idea what had happened to him. They assumed he died in a river. Tesla traveled throughout Europe, eventually settling in Budapest, to work as an electrician for a telephone company. He had an inspiration about establishing a new method of generating electricity, using alternating current while wandering around a municipal park one day. It would be his most important invention, and it would revolutionize the world. I'll go into AC in further detail later. In 1882, he moved to Paris, to work for Thomas Edison's electric company's French office. He began by installing inside lighting, but the bosses spotted his abilities, and hired him to undertake more sophisticated tasks, such as designing and fabricating dynamos and motors. He soon found himself traveling throughout Europe, repairing problems at other Edison branches. Tesla's manager offered him a work at Edison Machine Works, in New York City 2 years later, in 1884. He consented and landed in America, with barely 4 cents in his pocket, due to the theft of his money on the boat voyage over. Tesla had a favorable view of Edison at first. Tesla also impressed Edison, who subsequently said, "I have had many hard-working assistants, but you take the cake." This mutual admiration was short-lived. They would become bitter adversaries. The two guys disagreed on how electricity should be stored and distributed. Edison preferred direct current, which is a system in which electric charge flows exclusively in one direction. Tesla was a proponent of alternating current, in which the electric charge alternates direction on a regular basis. Because it does not overload outlets, changing directions is critical to ensuring a consistent supply of electricity. This means it can deliver more power and transfer it over greater distances. This is why AC powers our homes and other huge appliances, while DC powers little ones such as flashlights. However, Edison was unconcerned about AC, since it could have harmed direct current sales, as he controlled all DC patents. A manager at Edison's company, according to Tesla, offered him a $50,000 incentive if he could enhance some DC-powered machinery. When he did, the manager refused to reimburse him. According to another version of the story, Edison told Tesla, "You don't understand our American humor." Whatever happened, Tesla departed, and went on to found his own electric company the following year, in 1885. But his investors were uninterested, and planned to take over the company, as well as all of Tesla's patents, which they were able to do because Tesla had transferred the patents to the corporation in exchange for stock that was now worthless. Tesla had to take a job digging ditches for $2 a day after losing his firm. But his fortunes were about to alter. Tesla invented an alternating current induction motor in 1887. The most effective method of converting electricity to mechanical power was the motor. Tesla's vehicles, which bear the inventor's name, are powered by aversion to it. He patented the motor, and demonstrated it the following year, at the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, which drew the attention of George Westinghouse, a major player in the electric market who realized Tesla's alternating current motor could be just what he needed to complete his alternating current system, and compete against Edison's direct current system. As a result, Tesla licensed the patents for the AC motor to Westinghouse, for $60,000 in exchange for equity and royalties. Westinghouse engaged him as a consultant for $2,000 per month, which equates to more than $50,000 per month today. The war of currents had begun. Edison made every effort to denigrate Westinghouse and Tesla. He surreptitiously funded the electric chair that used alternating current to demonstrate the dangers of AC. To emphasize its argument, Edison's company openly tortured animals. They electrocuted a circus elephant named Topsy in 1903, and made a film about it called Electrocuting an Elephant. Despite Edison's machinations, things were looking up for Westinghouse and Tesla. In 1893, they outbid Edison and his newly created business, General Electric, to light the world's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. The first all-electric fair commemorated Christopher Columbus's discovery of America 400 years ago. The 27 million people in attendance understood that AC will power the future. Their success continued when they defeated Edison's General Electric once more to construct the world's first alternating current power station near Niagara Falls. The hydroelectric power station was a huge success, lighting up Buffalo, New York. Tesla also became a pioneer in renewable energy with the construction of the plant. Today, his statue can be viewed at Niagara Falls. The war of currents was won by Westinghouse and Tesla, and direct current was being phased out. But there were issues. Westinghouse's company was losing money, and eventually ran into debt for $10 Tesla versus Westinghouse million. In a desperate bid to preserve the company, he approached Tesla in 1897 and requested whether his royalties could be decreased. Tesla was so moved by his friend's plight that he tore up his contract. He thanked Westinghouse for believing in him when no one else did. Tesla willingly declined $12 million in royalties, which would be worth more than $300 million today. If he had kept those royalties, he would have become the world's wealthiest person, and the first person with $1 billion net worth. Westinghouse was spared by his kind deed of tearing up his friend's contract. In exchange, Westinghouse paid Tesla $216,000 for the perpetual use of the AC patents. This is around the equivalent of $60 million today. Tesla became financially independent with that money and established a series of laboratories in New York for new projects, where he was visited by the rich and famous, including his close friend and one of the greatest American writers of all time, Mark Twain. This was his period of prolific inventiveness. During his lifetime, he held nearly 300 patents. He invented neon lights and the Tesla turbine, a bladeless turbine for cars. By experimenting with radiation, he invented X-ray technology. This is a photograph of his own hand. One of the first remote controls was another notable development. In 1898, he piloted a small boat at New York's Madison Square Garden. It was so far ahead of its time that the audience assumed he was using magic to move it. That is the forefather of today's remote-controlled drones. Tragic events occur. The Tesla coil, a device that can generate massive volumes of high-voltage electricity, is one of his most well-known inventions. He realized that when the coils resonated at the same frequency, he could send and receive powerful radio signals. Tesla was about to broadcast his first radio transmission when calamity struck. In 1895, a fire destroyed his laboratory. Years of research and equipment were lost. Tesla did not seek for a radio patent until 2 years later. The fire would be the tipping point in his life, sending him on a downward spiral. At the same time he was working on radio, Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian entrepreneur, was also working on radio in England. He attempted to obtain patent rights in the United States, but was denied because his invention was too similar to Tesla's. However, things changed when Marconi used 17 of Tesla's patents to broadcast the world's first transatlantic radio communication in 1901. Edison then lent his financial backing to Marconi. Tesla had no objections to Marconi's accomplishments, but in 1904, the U.S. Patent Office abruptly altered its mind and granted Marconi a patent for the creation of the radio. There has never been an explanation offered for this choice, although the substantial financial support Marconi got may explain it. Marconi went on to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1911, which could only have happened because of Tesla's work. Tesla was enraged and filed a lawsuit against Marconi. The case stretched on for years in court, and was finally resolved in Tesla's favor after his death. Tesla's career was harmed as a result of the radio incident. Tesla, for example, was fascinated with delivering wireless communication to the world and built Wardenclyffe Tower, a massive wireless transmission station on Long Island, New York. He foresaw a world in which humans might wirelessly send and receive messages. He was, once again, very ahead of his time. However, financial investors did not have enough trust in his concept. Instead, they backed out and bet on Marconi's radio innovation. This resulted in Tesla's financial disaster. In 1905, he was forced to abandon his dream project, and eventually lost Wardenclyffe Tower to foreclosure. Tesla's mental health began to deteriorate. Beginning in 1933, he spent his final decade in the New Yorker hotel. His lodging was paid for the Westinghouse Corporation, which employed him as a consultant. He had no rent yet died in debt. So, why did one of history's greatest geniuses sink into oblivion and die penniless? Tesla was unlucky at times, such as when a fire destroyed his New York lab. However, the major issue is that Tesla was not a capitalist. He made business decisions that others would not have made, such as foregoing royalties for the AC motor. He wasn't worried with money. He was interested about the advancement of science, for the benefit of humanity. He desired to transform the world, and he succeeded. People are beginning to understand more about the man who inspired Elon Musk's company, a man whose ideas would power our entire globe, thanks in part to Elon Musk's company. Tesla is responsible for the way modern society operates. Tesla's mother correctly described him as a child of light. Thank you for watching Nikola Tesla's story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to my new channel.